Right now, sitting quietly inside the feeder hanging in your backyard, there's a good chance something is happening that could be making your birds unhealthy. Not because you were careless, not because the seed was poor quality when you bought it, but because there's something almost nobody explains when they hand you a bag of sunflower seeds and a feeder. Summer changes everything. The same feeder that helped birds survive cold winter months can quietly become a biological trap during the heat of summer. And the food you've been offering, the exact blend that worked perfectly in February, may not be giving your backyard birds what they actually need right now. In this video, we're going to look at what changes inside a feeder when temperatures rise, what birds truly seek during summer that seed alone cannot provide, and the one mistake even experienced backyard birders repeat every year without realizing it. Stay until the end, because the final thing we cover may matter more than every type of food you could place in your feeder combined. And once you understand why, you'll never think about summer bird feeding the same way again. Welcome back to the Backyard Lens. If you enjoy helpful bird-watching content, consider subscribing. Point 1. The myth that makes people stop feeding birds in summer. Before we talk about what to add to your feeder, we need to clear up something that prevents a lot of well-meaning people from feeding birds correctly during warm weather. There's a common belief that once summer arrives, feeders should come down. The logic sounds reasonable. Food is everywhere. Insects are abundant. Nature is active. So why would birds need help? Some people even worry feeders make birds dependent on humans. But research tells a different story. Studies tracking feeding behavior show that even birds that visit feeders regularly still gather most of their food naturally. Feeders usually provide only a small portion of their daily nutrition. Birds are not abandoning wild behavior. They're supplementing it. Your feeder is not replacing nature. It's supporting it. And during summer, that support becomes important for something birds are working harder than ever to obtain. So the question isn't whether you should feed birds in summer. The real question is whether what's sitting in your feeder right now is actually helping or quietly creating problems. Point 2. What heat is really doing inside your feeder. This is the part most people never think about, because it happens where you cannot see it. Inside tubes, inside hopper feeders, inside corners where heat and humidity build up. Birdseed is organic, and organic material behaves very differently in hot, humid conditions than it does during cool winter weather. When temperatures rise and moisture stays trapped, seed begins changing. Heat plus humidity creates ideal conditions for mold growth, and mold doesn't appear randomly. Given enough time and warmth, it becomes predictable. What looks like clean seed on the surface may already be deteriorating underneath. Some mold varieties associated with feeders can create serious health issues for birds, including breathing problems and digestive stress. Heat creates another issue: bacteria. As birds gather, droppings accumulate. Warm surfaces speed up bacterial growth. Shared feeding spaces become environments where illness spreads much faster. Species that feed in groups become especially vulnerable. This doesn't mean feeders are dangerous. It means feeders require different care in summer than they do in winter. A feeder packed full and ignored for a week may be harmless in January. That same habit in July can create completely different results. Point 3. The change that costs. Nothing but makes the biggest difference. The most important improvement you can make this summer has nothing to do with buying special food. It comes down to quantity and maintenance. Put out less food. Replace it more often. Only fill feeders with what birds are likely to finish within a few days. A feeder overflowing with seed may look generous, but excess seed sitting in trapped heat becomes a slow spoilage system. The seed buried underneath is often the oldest, and it's usually eaten last. That's exactly where problems begin. When temperatures stay high, replacing old seed regularly becomes more important than adding more food. Cleaning matters just as much. Wash feeders frequently. Use warm, soapy water. Clean corners and feeding ports. Remove seed hulls and waste underneath. Those leftovers are not harmless. They're part of the same cycle that encourages mold and bacteria. This one adjustment, smaller portions, fresh replacements, and more frequent cleaning, does more to protect summer birds than almost anything else. Point 4. What birds actually need more of during summer. Now let's answer the question most people ask. What should go into the feeder? Summer changes nutritional priorities. Winter is about energy and fat. Summer is different. Birds are nesting, feeding young, growing new feathers, recovering from physical stress. And all of those processes require one thing: protein. This is why mealworms become one of the most valuable summer additions. Mealworms closely mimic the insect-rich diet many birds naturally seek. Parent birds feeding chicks make countless trips every day. That workload is exhausting. Protein-rich food helps support that effort. Bluebirds often respond especially well. So do chickadees, wrens, titmice, and many seasonal songbirds. Dried mealworms work well for most people and hold up better in heat. Fresh fruit can also become a valuable addition. Small amounts of berries, slices of grape, pieces of melon. Fruit provides both energy and hydration. But portion control matters. Offer only what birds can finish quickly. Fruit spoils fast. Sweat can still work during summer too, but only heat-resistant varieties. And placing those feeders in shade dramatically improves safety. Point 5. The one thing more important than food. After everything we've covered, we arrive at the most overlooked part of summer bird care: water. Again and again, observations point toward the same conclusion. During extreme summer weather, heat stress often becomes a bigger challenge than hunger. Food exists. Water doesn't always. Birds can tolerate limited food longer than they can tolerate dehydration, especially while nesting or raising chicks. A shallow water source changes everything. It supports drinking, cooling, bathing, recovery, and it attracts species that never touch seed feeders. Placement matters. Keep water shaded. Use natural materials when possible. Refresh it regularly. Warm, stagnant water creates the same problems as spoiled seed. Clean water becomes one of the most valuable resources your yard can offer. If your feeder setup includes excellent food, but no reliable water source, you may only be providing half of what birds truly need. Final thoughts. Your feeder has a different job. Now a summer feeder is not doing the same job it did during winter. Winter feeding supports survival through cold. Summer feeding supports breeding, growth, recovery, and endurance through heat. Small portions, fresh food, protein support, careful cleaning, reliable water. These aren't dramatic changes. They're simple adjustments that reflect what birds are experiencing right now. Somewhere nearby, there's a parent bird making dozens of feeding trips, a molting chickadee staying hidden, a bluebird that may never visit seed, but would gladly stop for mealworms. What you do with your feeder this week may seem small, but for the birds, depending on it, it matters. Tell me in the comments, have you tried adding mealworms or fresh water to your feeder this summer? And did you notice any new visitors show up? I'd love to hear about it.